Hey everyone, welcome to the Throw Zone. I'm your host, Big Kev. And today, before we get this episode rolling, I just want to say thank you to some of our show partners here. We have Lincoln Microphone. If you need any custom microphone work or microphone repair, go check them out. Schubert Cattle and Farms LLC. If you're looking to get any fresh beef, whether that's half a cow, a full cow, send me a DM at the Throw Zone. We'll get you connected. And now, finally, I'd like to thank our newest partner here, Throws Pro. If you're looking to get some of the best throwing equipment in the world, go check them out. Link in bio. And if you're looking to save a little bit extra, some high quality implements, use discount code ThrowZone and you'll save a little bit of money on that as well. And now we'll tune into this week's episode. We have my former teammate at the University of Nebraska, Rhema. So tune in. It's a great episode and make sure to like and subscribe. And we'll see you later. Welcome, everyone. We're here on the Throw Zone. We have the new official Throw Zone World Headquarters setup here. So big shout out to my fiance, Haley. This has been a work in progress since our third podcast we did with P-Train back around February 16th, I think. Was that what I said earlier? I can't remember. Somewhere around those lines. Yeah, so a big thanks to her for getting this put together for me. And now we have an in-person guest again for the first time since that February 16th date. We have Rhema. Rhema is a Olympian as well as a two-time NCAA National Champion and the NCAA record holder in the Javelin. Something special about that is I witnessed that in person, and I got to sit next to no other than Coach St. Clair when that all went down. So I got to be kind of in the back row of this emotional roller coaster of watching probably one of the greatest javelin competitions in nationals like ever. Well, obviously the best throw ever, but no. So I just want to say thank you for making it over to our world headquarters here in Lincoln, and we're happy to have you on, Rhema.
Thank you for having me. I am very excited to be here.
Thank you. And this podcast might get interrupted. We have some cats on the loose. Yeah, so be prepared for possible cat interruptions. Raymo gave me the thumbs up. She likes cats. So if you like cats, comment a cat emoji. Yeah, but we'll get started here. So, Rayma, when did you start throwing javelin?
The first time I ever picked up a javelin was when I was in the seventh grade. So I would have been, I think, 12 years old. And I picked it up because in high school in the Bahamas, we have a inter-school competition called BAISS. And my high school at the time needed somebody from my age division to throw the javelin. Now, before I picked up the javelin for the first time, like I was already like a part of the track and field team and I did a lot of sports, but I was a part of the track and field team just running mainly. And then other sports I did was like softball and baseball. And so my high school coach at the time was like, you know, we need somebody because we really want some points. And so he told me to pick up the javelin and throw it. Looked awful, but you know, he was like, we have some time to work on it, so why not?
Yeah. And so, softball background, what position did you play in softball?
I used to shift around sometimes depending on what my team needed, but I pretty much played shortstop. That was like my main position.
I can see that. You didn't play outfield or anything like that?
No, I didn't really play outfield. Like I feel like I would go shortstop mainly, and then maybe if we needed a catcher at the time, I'd do.
Fill in the gaps
Yeah,
needed.
yeah.
Yeah, no, that's impressive. I had no idea you played softball.
And then even before that, baseball,
Yeah.
playing with the guys.
No. So then, was that your favorite sport growing up, or is it just something you did besides the other ones you mentioned earlier?
So like my family, at least, yeah, my family kind of is a sports oriented family to an extent. And my aunt, she was really the one who was putting like people in. Because I think the first sport some of my cousins got into was basketball, actually. And then after basketball, they decided to do baseball. And so it was like whatever my aunt was putting people in, that's what we went and did. Or that's what
Yeah.
kids went and did. And so my cousins and even my brother was already playing baseball. My aunt initially put me in baseball because the place where the baseball league that I played at didn't have a softball league. So that was the only available option, baseball. And then I eventually, when they added on a softball league, then I went and played softball. And yeah, I did have a lot of fun. Yeah, it was a wonderful experience.
So, growing up playing baseball with the guys, do you think that influenced your competitive drive? And for those who don't know Rhema is very competitive. Don't ever try to make any bets against Rhema or play any games that you want to win easily in.
Controversy.
Yeah.
But yeah, I would say so. Because outside of like when we actually played for our teams and in actual games, me and my cousins would all just play games together and stuff. So I think being around them where they was a bit more aggressive and was hungry for accomplishing things in their sport, yeah, I'd say that definitely did help with the competitiveness. Yeah.
Exactly. I think there's something about having, especially family, but like an older sibling or older relative that you have that extra drive. Like if it's just some random like person older than you that you're playing against, yeah, there's the they're older than me. I want to win. But, when you have family, it's personal.
Yep. Yep. Like even me and my brother, because he actually started throwing javelin before me. When we both would have competitions, we kind of would make bets amongst each other just based on obviously like our range of throwing. So it'd be like, I bet you I throw 65 meters or something, and I'd be like, well, I bet you I throw 50 meters at the time.
Yeah.
And that's kind of like how we would get at each other. I guess that definitely did lead to the extra competitiveness, but that's how we kind of kept each other accountable.
Yeah. And so you said right away, javelin, when you first started throwing it, didn't go great. You just kind of got by. At what point did you start at least figuring out that this is something that I'm going to be good at? And when did you start just like seeing success right away?
So, like that first time I picked up javelin and threw it, it was like bad, like really bad. But then after I worked on like throwing a javelin for maybe a month and a half before BAISS actually happened, I guess over that time something ended up working.
Something clicked.
Yeah, something ended up working out because I went to BAISS and I actually won that competition. And I feel like that was like a little taste of what competing in javelin throwing could be like for me. But softball was my love at the time. And so after like that track and field season would end, I'd go right back to softball. And I kind of like participated or competed in the javelin throwing event like the year after at BAISS again, because it's a yearly thing.
Yeah.
And then it wasn't until I qualified for a regional team. So I was able to represent the Bahamas at a junior meet called Carifta. When I qualified for that team, then my eyes kind of opened like, I qualified for this team? I can't believe it. Like I was super excited, but then eventually I went on to go to Carifta and I won Carifta when I don't feel like I was nearly as prepared as I needed to be to win it. But I did win it, and I think that was like a eye-opening experience for me. For sure.
And then I guess that aspect of you really enjoyed softball. At what point did you know that you're probably going to have to break away from softball and just focus on the javelin?
It actually took some conversations with my coach that I was training with at the time. Like after I went to Carifta and I did pretty well, the coach that I was working with pulled me aside and he was like, hey, like you see how successful you was able to be here. I know you like softball, but you really should think about truly pursuing javelin full time, And so I think maybe a few months after like my Carifta competition, I pretty much started like contemplating the weight of, well, maybe not just the weight, but contemplating the idea that I would have to potentially drop softball.
Yeah. So I guess I didn't play softballs, but for me, my favorite sport growing up was basketball. And I was the center. I was not really, quick at the time. Eventually, once I started getting like weight training for other sports, then I was a lot more athletic. But I didn't really learn how to dribble. I was not a sharpshooter. My job was to get the rebound and then put it back in the hoop.
Okay.
And then make the free throw afterwards. And so I played just basketball and track my freshman year of high school. Sophomore year, I did football, basketball, track. And during that track season, my coach told me that I needed to get bigger to throw farther. And he told me that this whole basketball thing has to stop. And he told me, I know you love basketball, but if you want to see any success in the throws, you're going to have to get stronger. And that means you're not running back and forth down the court all day. And it was at that point I knew I really enjoyed throwing. but I really love basketball. I still do. I actually shot about 300 shots, made about 3 of them yesterday. So, there's a reason why I don't do that anymore. But well, no, that was really hard for me, but at the end I knew that would be the right decision. So, I think that's something that a lot of people face in high school because there's the two different paths. You have the athlete who, might be football, wrestling, track, or they might be volleyball, basketball, track, and trying to figure out is it time for me to stop and focus on one thing, or people are so worried about coaches aren't going to recruit me if I quit sports and focus on one thing. Looking back, do you think you should have continued on trying to do softball as long as you could in other sports? Or do you think that maybe even should have stopped playing it earlier to focus on javelin?
No, I think when I eventually kind of tapered out of playing softball, it was just perfect timing because, the time that I did fully just focus on throwing, it, like, a lot of things ended up working out. Like, I don't feel like I missed out on any opportunities for not stopping early enough. And I don't feel like I needed to keep softballing any longer.
Yeah,
Yeah, yeah.
no, that makes sense. And so when you're finally focused on the javelin, what was the end goal, or was there a goal at the time for what success looked like to you?
Okay. At the time that okay, well, a lot of the time I always try to focus on like what is the biggest meet of the year. So like short-term goal would have been like what is the biggest meet of the year? Trying to hit the standard for that and just continue to represent my country, you know? And then like the grand scheme of things, one of my goals was to go off to school in the US. So that was a goal that I definitely was aiming for. And then eventually to carry it to the highest heights, which is the Olympics, you know. Now I knew the Olympics dream at the time was like far out and I would have to put in a lot of work to get there.
Did you have a long-term goal of what you wanted to do, or was the big goal just something small at the time?
So the small goals that I kind of focused on year per year were like qualifying for the biggest meet of the season for the age group that I was in because I really enjoyed like making national teams and representing my country. But beyond that, I had always planned or always had as one of the things I wanted to do was to go to school in the US. So that was also something I was working towards. And then, like most people who get into any sport, eventually I had hoped to make it to the Olympics. And so that would have been like the long-term goal for me at the time.
Yeah.
Definitely. Yeah.
And so at that point, the Olympics wasn't something that you're like, I'm making it, I could do it right now. But that was like okay, that's the goal. We're gonna work towards that. Was that more for
Yeah, definitely. Like, I'm not at the place that I need to be to make an Olympics right now.
Yeah.
But eventually, yeah, I would like to.
Be on that track?
Yeah,
Yeah.
I want to take it as far as I could take it, you know?
Yeah, because I think that's one thing about the sport of track and field that you have to have that goal that if you would tell someone, they might look at you funny, or they might think, yeah, you're not making it, or like one of those situations people don't quite believe it, and then deep down like, okay, I could do it, and it's like not embarrassing to tell someone, but you're kind of like, my goal is to make the Olympics. No, is that more fitting?
You know, you speaking about this kind of unlock a memory that I feel like like I had forgotten then. I remember, I think, how old would I have been? Maybe I was 16 or 17. I remember I was at Atlantis back home in the Bahamas, and I was on a water slide. On the water slide that I was on like a floaty, and I was behind somebody because we were like going up this like ramp kind of.
Yeah.
And I was talking to this tourist on the side of me, and somehow we got talking about how I am an athlete. And eventually, within the conversation, I did mention that I want to go to the Olympics someday. By this time, I had just started throwing javelin, or
Yeah.
maybe a year or two in. I don't completely remember. But I remember the look that the person gave me. It was like, oh yeah, well, sounds like you got a long way to go, but I'm wishing you well, like on your journey. And when that person said it, I was like, yeah, but I really, really want to make that happen, you know?
Yeah.
And I also feel like the coach that I had at home, like even when I brought up my dream of potentially making it as far as the Olympics, he was like, well, we can do it. You can do it, you know?
I
You
think
just got to put the work
I
in.
think that's one of the best things a coach could do is even my experience of coaching middle school when I had kids like, I'm going to make it to our middle school state meet. in which, it's not as prestigious as the Olympics or anything like that. But to some kids that they didn't have a coach before I was there. And so any type of guidance they could get, they thought that was really awesome. And so the idea of going to state, other kids are like, you're not going to state. And a few of them were like, no, but like I work hard. I can try. Like I can keep doing this. And so I think that's something that a good coach could capitalize, and they see that tiny little goal and then they sort of just force it into them. They make them believe and they make it happen. I think it's one of the best things a coach can do.
Yeah, it definitely does lay down a good level of confidence for the athlete. It's like my coach believe in me, so why can't I believe in myself?
Yeah. And even when you first transferred to Nebraska, I remember when you first came in and just being around Coach St. Clair and everything. It's like, oh, yeah, this is Rhema. Rhema's going to go to the Olympics in a couple of years. And it was just solid in my head. I'm like, oh, sick. She's going to the Olympics. Nice. And I bet at that point, I don't think you were fully like, yeah, I'm going to make it to the Olympics. But you were like, it's a possibility.
Yeah, it's a possibility. Yeah. But like you're saying. Yeah.
Like a coach is just like, it was just like a thing. Same with Axelina. When Axelina came to Nebraska, she was in the same boat of, yeah, I want to make the Olympics. And to my understanding, I'm like, oh, this is the girl who's going to make the Olympics in a couple of years. And so I think that's really cool that a coach has that power, and even like over like the training group too. And just, they can make the whole team buy in. And I think that also helps because then, in your experience, I know a lot of other like people in our training group all believe that you were going to make the Olympic team. How powerful was that to you? Even if like you're having a bad day, but just knowing that people you're training with are like, oh yeah, like she's gonna go there, like whatever.
Kind of getting back to what I was saying about like even my first coach who I really was working with, like him saying that and then having the group see that, and then even Coach Sinclair see that, it's like it gives you a level of confidence that really helps like kick away the doubt when doubt does come in. Like you're saying, like say I did have a bad meet or maybe a bad training session, is like, yeah, this one out of many, and obviously you've been doing something good well enough to the point where your chances of going to the Olympics is like gone,
Yeah, they're like, oh, never mind, she's trash. Yeah. No, I think that applies for so many other things too. Even like the small goals in training. Like think about in like a weight room scenario, there's been times where I put a weight on the bar for a front squat that I have a big back squat, but we didn't really push the super heavy, like 1 rep max on a front squat. And I would see a big weight. I'm like, that's a lot of weight. And then just having even a couple other people around, even like you've been there too, and you're like, oh, you can do that. And then I'm like, I can? Oh, okay. And then just having just other people in the training group, like even Coach Chase especially. Like I have probably a trillion memories of putting some weight on the bar that was kind of making me nervous. And he's like, yeah, just don't struggle. Just do it. You'll feel fine. And it's just like that confidence, like, well, they think I can do it. I mean, and then the thought of like thinking mathematically, yeah, I could probably do this. And having that group, I feel like that's also helps make those goals become real.
I kid you not, one day I was having a conversation with Coach Jason. I was like, has Kevin ever like not made a weight? Has he ever not made a new weight that he put on, like heavyweight? And he was like, as far as I can remember, no, Kevin just always gets the rep up.
He must forget about those other times. But no, I'll never forget. As during COVID, we were training inside the Devaney. That's our indoor track in Nebraska. And we had a couple racks in the corner. Like, in the corner by the throws area, there's a couple racks. And that's where we did our 1 rep maxes for everything my sophomore year. That was the only weight room we had access to.
Wow.
With all the COVID restrictions.
Okay.
And there was just, I had class or something. So it was just me and Chase. And I was going for a 1 rep max on squat. Well, we were going in, and this is my sophomore year. And my freshman year, I nailed a 675. And going into that one, I wanted to break 700. And I can't remember if I went for, I think it was 725 because it was plates plus 25s. And I felt confident about it. I just did 675 and it moved fast. And I was feeling really confident. And Chase saw the multis and kind of waved him over to yell. And Nick Ronfelt was over there with me too. And Chase, this is what really made me nervous. I was a full head of confidence. I'm smoking this. It's easy. We can go home. Chase goes and texts his wife that I love you, and like a nervous text. And I go up to squat. I was like, okay, Kevin, Chase is kind of nervous here. we can't screw this up.
Okay.
And so that was that little extra drive for me too. And I had my headphones on. I smelled some smelling salts, smacked myself in the face. And the routine was there, but no, there was always good times. I think shout out to Coach Chase. He's a legend. So if you're seeing this, Coach Chase, thank you for all your time.
Thank you.
Yeah. But kind of resuming back, another thing you're mentioning, you're talking about being at Atlantis.
Uh-huh.
And I don't know if any other kids grew up watching Disney Channel, Nickelodeon, and always getting the advertisements for Atlantis Water Resort and the Bahamas. I actually just had a conversation with Rhema the other day if she ever got a chance to go. And she was living our dream.
This really is a lot of fun. Like the first time I went, I don't remember what age, but I was a young kid, and the amount of water slides was just, I think it was mind blowing, the amount of water slides that I saw. And then on top of that, what's it called? Like the types of water slides they had. So before I even went, some of my cousins had already gone before me.
Yeah.
And it was like, they up this really high slide called a leap of faith. You just drop straight, and it was so scary. And,
Yeah.
He told me about this other ride where it was, you go down and you kind of like in a shark tank, or at least the way the slide is set up is like sharks swim around you as you go get it.
I don't know if I like that.
Listen, they was describing all the different rides, the lazy river, so on and so forth, and they was just making it sound like the best. You could have the best time ever, and I did the first time I did go. But I think as I got older and I kept going, kind of
The magic went away.
yeah, a little bit. But it's always fun when I go with a good group of people.
Oh yeah, yeah. No, I just thought it was so funny that we were talking about just like water slides in summer, and then someone brought up Atlantis, and Rhema pipes up. It's like, oh yeah, I've been there a handful of times. We're like, oh my gosh, like is that place even real? So yeah, that's too funny. But yeah, kind of moving back onto your story though. So at what point did you know that it was very realistic that you're going to go to the U.S. for college to throw? Like, when did those offers or just the attention from coaches start rolling in?
Funny enough, I didn't really get attention from coaches until I had graduated from high school. Because coming out of high school, my best mark was like 43 meters. And I actually attended a university back in the Bahamas for 1 year. And I think during that period was when I threw about 48 meters, either 47 really high or 40.
Something in that ballpark.
And when I got that mark in, and then on top of that, when a video of me like going through a drill was posted by my coach at the time,
yeah,
then I got a lot of traction coming my way about like, oh, come on a visit. We want you potentially to come here, so on and so forth.
So social media was a powerful tool on that.
And I still, like the day that I did that drill, it didn't feel magical, if that makes sense. Like, it didn't feel amazing. Like, I just did the best version of this drill ever. But it just happened that things ended up looking really good. And then the coach posted, and then traction just started happening,
Yeah. Well, welcome, Ivy. This is her first podcast. She's kind of shy. Yeah. No, I think that's really a powerful tool. A lot of kids that I've talked to ask about what is something that they could do to help get recognized. Because you look at a lot of other sports here, like football, basketball, volleyball. It seems the way things work for recruiting is you're on Huddle, you're posting your highlights, you're emailing coaches, you're paying ridiculous amounts of money to go to all these camps. And a lot of people view throwing as, okay, a lot of those kids have that, I need to start making my Huddle videos, me throwing, I need to go to all these camps. And then these parents are like, oh my gosh, that's thousands of dollars of hotels, gas, airplane tickets, going to these camps to find schools. But I feel like for throwing especially, since we're such a stat-based sport, and just having a social media page that you can post your throws, or just even on your main account, having your stuff out there, I think that's probably the best way to get recruited.
I could agree with you a large percent there, because I do agree, like, one, posting your stats up is a very good idea. And then on top of that, like you say, posting your videos so that coaches could potentially look at what you're throwing now, look at your technique and be like, oh, this person has so much more room for potential. You know what I mean? Like, you just need to tweak this or tweak that, and you get bigger marks. So it's like, I think doing that and like marketing yourself does help make the journey of getting into a university, potentially a university of your dreams, a lot easier.
Yeah. And that's another thing. A lot of kids too are so worried about, I did not throw 55 meters in high school and the women's javelin, or even like some of the men's shot putters I know. It's like I threw only 60 feet, and there's guys throwing like 75. I'm never going to college to throw, but I think just having your content of yourself competing, throwing, and coaches look at the stats. They look at those videos. So also be smart about what you're posting. Don't post dumb stuff that's going to get you in trouble. That's also really important too. But having that out there, because a good coach can look at it. Maybe this guy's throwing 57 feet, but their technique is very and they can see all the videos of them lifting and working out, and they just see they're working hard and they're not afraid to get their hands dirty in the weight room. And that might be an opportunity somewhere.
Yep, I agree 1,000%. Yeah.
I think that's something that Coach St. Clair's done a great job of too. Because you look at people that are on like our squad when we were competing together a couple years ago, we had just a lot of kids that really just developed underneath them that some coaches probably didn't have any interest in. Like even I think before your time in Nebraska, Alex Talley, just talking to him, Alex played wide receiver in high school. He was under 6 foot and he was a skinny guy. And he ended up going to North Dakota State to see Coach St. Clair. And he only threw 57 feet in high school. Well, Alex left Nebraska throwing 72 plus in the hammer through just about, I think his PR in the weight throw was over 22, almost 23, somewhere in that ballpark. And through the shot over, I think his PR was like 2042. I apologize if I'm wrong, Tally. Don't be mad. But like, he always talked about like other coaches didn't give him an opportunity. And I think that's something that a good coach can just seeing the content, seeing kids. So don't be afraid to post that video of you throwing, even if it's like a not fantastic throw, and just showing how hard you're working. I think that's a great way to make it to the next level.
Yeah, I could agree a lot with that because I feel like good coaches would look for potential, like I mean a good coach wouldn't look for a finished product. They'd look for somebody who have a lot of potential.
Yeah, so moving on, you got to year of school in Bahamas, and then you were looking towards going to the U.S. What were some things that mattered to you when you were trying to find your first school in the U.S.?
One of the big things was like comfortability or being able to gel with the team slash the community that I would be around. So that was a really big thing for me. I would say being able to get like a full scholarship, like my goal going off was like to have majority of my stuff paid for. And so full scholarship was definitely something else I was looking for. Let me see. One thing that I ended up really liking with the school that I ended up going to first when I initially left the Bahamas was how close the place was slash how similar the culture was to the Bahamas, So that looking back was definitely something that I was appreciative of. Let me see. And then I think in the end, like when I was talking to my parents, like making sure kind of everybody was on board with the idea.
Yeah, making sure that your tight knit circle is all in agreement. So big things from that stood out. Making sure that where you're going is like home. Like it's good to make differences, good to make changes, but like how much of a help was that to you of going somewhere new but having enough familiarity that you kind of get that sense of what you're used to?
All right, before I answer that question, another thing that I also was trying to look forward to was like good coaching slash good team environment.
Yeah, that's also really important.
Yeah, I should have mentioned that earlier, but that was definitely something that I was also like
that was assumed,
So,
good coaches, good teammates.
But back to your question, being able to be somewhere that reminded me of home helped make the transition into college life a lot smoother. Like for me, I'm the type of person where I feel like I'll do better. I think most people are potentially this way, where they'll do better in an environment where they feel like they could blossom and grow and they feel like there's some form of belonging,
Yeah.
And so being in an environment where it was like very similar to home, like I guess my people like back home were okay with the arrangement initially. Like these things kind of gave me peace of mind being there, and so that definitely helped my performance.
Yeah.
In my opinion. Yeah.
That was big for me too, where there's a couple my final places I was looking at before Nebraska. Keep in mind, I'm from here, and most of my dad's side of the family's from here. I looked at a couple other places too, and the closeness helped. But for me, there was a lot of debate between a couple other places too. And what kind of settled down with Nebraska was I kind of talked to a lot of people who knew me the best,
Mm-hmm.
and they all like were pretty much in unanimous agreement, like, yeah, Nebraska is going to be the best place for you. And then that helped me know that there's no doubts,
Mm-hmm.
because I'm a people pleaser,
Mm-hmm.
and so I like to make sure that people I care about are taken care of or happy about it. And now if they said go X, Y, Z, I knew that was wrong. I'm like, yeah, I'm not going to do that. But there's also like that extra feeling of knowing that they are in agreement with me. So on the days that I'm the most doubtful, did I make the right decision? There's at least that one extra layer of comfort back there
Mm-hmm.
in the back of my head, knowing that, yeah, people that know me best agree with my decision. So I
Yeah.
think that also helped me.
Yeah. I would say a good amount of people agreed with my decision, but there was somebody back home who was like, I don't know about this, but
Yeah,
they
and there's
did,
always
you
going to
know?
be that.
Yeah.
And a lot of times people, they're trying their best of doing what they think with what information they have and based on their experiences, that they mean it with good intention.
Mm-hmm.
But sometimes you just have to know that they are not the expert in that area,
Mm-hmm.
and they are not going to be making all the shots for you. So you got to do it on your own.
Yeah.
So,
It was a situation where I had to make the call for myself.
yeah. And so getting started in the US, what was one thing that you thought was very different than in the Bahamas that you had to get used to?
Let me see. Going to FIU, the biggest thing that was different. Let me see. FIU, like the culture down there was just very similar, but they didn't exactly have like Bahamian food, but I could still find Caribbean food around. Let me see. To think about that a little bit more.
What about here? How about this?
Okay.
How about Nebraska?
Okay, Nebraska, the weather is different, the food ain't the same, like the population, like demographic isn't the same either.
Yeah.
It's just like different cultural things, like people here hate when the summer comes, kind of to an extent.
It depends. We're complaining about everything. There's no pleasing anyone here. It's too cold. It's too hot. Or in the spring, I have allergies. I hate this.
Like even the allergy situation, like nobody back home is be like, oh, my allergies or something.
I think the standard for Nebraska is think about like an old grumpy farmer. That's kind of the vibe we have here for culture.
Oh, per se, but yeah, and so I would say it was it was like a night and day difference. But I still was able to acclimate, in my opinion. Yeah.
Yeah. And then just kind of jumping back to your journey through FIU.
Hmm.
And so eventually you decided to make the decision to Nebraska. How hard of a decision was it to make, knowing that you're going to have to go to the possibility of finding a new place,
Hmm.
and just sort of the feelings? 'Cause I know a lot of people out there might be at a school that they, for whatever reason, feel the need of they might want to move on, or that it's not fitting for them.
Hmm.
And knowing that you just have to have confidence and follow your gut, or whatever the key is to finding where you're happiest.
Yes. I One thing I am very appreciative is my experience down at FIU. Like, if I were to do the whole like recruiting and
Yeah.
everything process all over again, I would have it go exactly the way that it went. I would not switch out and be like, oh, let me just go straight to Nebraska first, or like I think I really needed that experience down at FIU, because I built a community there, but I also built like familiarity with how the NCAA process goes in terms of like competing, and like I just gained a lot of useful experience being at FIU. But
Yeah.
then when I decided to go into the transfer portal, I was like very scared at the idea that maybe when I switch to this other place, maybe I might not find a community the same way that it was before.
Yeah.
Like maybe the grass isn't greener on the other side.
And that's terrifying.
Listen, I was afraid, but then I was talking to my coach from back home about like because we kept going back and forth about how important it is to continue to grow, because that was one of the big reasons why I decided to like leave FIU, because I felt like I had big goals that I want to accomplish, as you guys heard earlier about my dreams of going to the Olympics
Yep.
potentially. But even before then, it was just like being able to win an NCAA title, being able to break our national record back home in the Bahamas and stuff like that. And so I knew that staying at FIU would not have allowed me to get to the level that I could have gotten to, in terms of like being able to be somewhere else where I could get potentially better facilities, potentially more experienced coaching, even having like a team that was very much driven, a group of other javelin throwers.
Yeah, 'cause your training group was tough because you and Maddie got to like probably like some of the biggest competition in the NCAA, and you were both seeing each other at practice every day. So that's also a big thing because I had a similar experience too of when Coach St. Clair came to Nebraska. Max and Alex came with, and normally it was just me and Berger, hanging out, throwing back and forth, and now there's two more guys throwing really far. And so it was like every day is like you don't want to be that guy in fourth place.
Yeah, so being in an environment that'll push you, and these were all things that I was considering. And because I knew how important it would have been to getting further ahead, I was like, yeah, this decision is worth it. Like whatever comes my way, obviously I'll try and make my situation like go as smoothly or be the best that it could be for me. But I think going or moving on would have been way better than staying.
And that's just following along, keeping up with your goals.
Right.
And I think that's a really important thing that you touched up on is that you would not change your process.
No.
I think a lot of people are all about, I made this decision and that was terrible. I should never do that again. But think about all those opportunities of where you made a mistake or you were in a situation that you grew from. And that's where people always ask me, like, oh, you stayed at Nebraska, you never left Nebraska, you grew up in Nebraska. Did you ever wish you went somewhere else? And my first thing is no. Like there was a bunch of crazy experiences with, global pandemic and how the university's policies were in play for that. And then the coach that recruited me, they ended up getting rid of a lot of the staff. And then a new coach came in with new expectations and new like training philosophies, new training routines. Like there was a bunch of things that happened that I could have easily gone to a different school or, like there's so many times where you can make any decisions. I bet there's a million times you could think of that you could have pivoted or done something differently. I think there's something really important too of just kind of owning like that's your history and that's what you've done and just knowing that, yeah, maybe that day was really bad, but like I've lived it. I could do that day again.
Yeah.
All the growth that comes from those.
I could agree with that. But then also is like you can't go back and change it even if
Exactly.
like don't dwell on it too hard. If anything, like learn from it, move forward and potentially make better decisions, But yeah, I would not change it.
And the same thing goes for competing too. I bet, like I know from my experience, there have been times like I didn't make finals at one of the Big Ten meets, and I just about medaled the year before, and I had a bad day. And you can't just go home and like be really upset all day and make it ruin your day. Like you gotta ruin your day. You can let that happen. That's okay. But like after that, you gotta just throw it away, and you just gotta go back, build back, work harder, be smart about what you're doing.
Yeah, that's true. You just gotta make better decisions moving forward.
Yep. And that's coming too from someone who's one of the best in the world at what they do. And think about it like that. I think a lot of kids, when they're like on the up and up, even looking back, I bet when you're younger too, did you ever have an experience of you had a bad meet and you're like, my life's over?
Listen, so you remember how I said that the curve to meet that I went to was really where I was like, okay, yeah, this actually could be a thing that I could be good at and could pursue. Right before, like maybe 2 meets before that meet, I had a horrendous competition. I didn't even make finals, and I was like crying, boohoo crying right afterwards, Well, it was because like I ran a 400 and then run straight from the 400 line to
Exactly.
the javelin throwing area. But like that meet I did so horribly. I was like, am I really sure? Like I should go to try for this career of the team. Like I started doubting myself, but it was just one meet, one bad meet, and circumstances like leading up to that competition wasn't necessarily in my favor. But that was just one bad meet. Don't let that be the determining factor for everything.
Exactly. Like imagine if you gave up. Imagine if that was it. Like it would always be a what if. And don't let this. And if you're in those shoes, don't let one bad meet change your destiny or your future. Think about the what if you didn't quit. Like if you kept going.
Yeah. Boy, I tell you.
Yeah. So moving on, when you got to train at Nebraska, you got big culture shock, and I feel like Nebraska is pretty just basic. Like the weather, you get a little bit of everything.
It changed so much. You know what? Another thing, like, and this kind of ties into the weather culture shock too, but it's like back home in the Bahamas, I very rarely check the weather. I need my
Yeah, I bet now that's one of the Siri suggested apps in the morning.
in the morning. I always say, "Hey Siri, what's the weather like today?" You know, but beforehand, I never did that. When I was in Florida, I never did that.
Yeah, it's like it's gonna be hot. And then it might be hot, it might be cold, it might snow, and that's just going up to noon. That's not even like the full year.
But I check the weather app now. Yeah.
Yeah, that's one thing too about Nebraska that I bet took some getting used to is the same day that you're wearing your winter coat is going to be like 75 and sunny, and you're going to be dying if you didn't dress accordingly.
Mm-hmm.
And so, coming from a climate that's very warm and you're able to train outside just about year round, what was that adjustment like having to go somewhere that you can't really throw outside in January here? Except this year it was really nice in January, but
Nice according to him.
okay, at the beginning it was doable. Like it was sunny a few times until the end of the month when we had a blizzard. But you know, there's all those times that if you want to throw outside, you're like,
Yeah. Yeah, and so like in the beginning I was being like a baby about it. I was like, I wish I could be outside and it was just warm all the time. And it was a little bit hard for me like to get acclimated in terms of like mentally being like it's okay no matter what the weather is, like I'll be able to have a good throwing day. But over time, like, you know, this is what you're dealing with, you know, and this doesn't necessarily have to be something that can hinder you. You can let this be something that pushes you, you know? Like Coach Sinclair used to always say, Rhema, this is helping you get your mental toughness. So no matter what environment you're in, you could still go there and compete.
yeah, boy, did I have a lot of experience with mental toughness in the rain in practice, or at least trying to avoid that. But no, I agree. I thought for my personal experience, I thought some of the times I felt most empowered, like if this was a movie right now, like the music, like Rocky's blasting or something, like, dang, this guy's really going hard, training and lifting or whatever. Were those practices of throwing when it was kind of dark and just rainy and gross outside? Like my biggest motivation on those days were like, man, I bet those guys in Texas right now have the sun out and it's so nice and they're getting all these good reps in and I can't let them get ahead of me. Or these guys in California and Florida and even like throwing on those days that was really cold, I'm like, oh, they're working out there. I'm working twice as hard as those guys. Like that whole like I don't know. That's like kind of a gym bro mentality. I feel like that our sport kind of inherits every once in a while. But I always thought those practices, even though I might throw like 20 feet less than what's ideal for myself, just that feeling of I'm doing way more than those guys. I thought that was always like a empowering practice.
But one thing will say is obviously like from my results, like switching from being like outdoor majority of the year
Yeah.
to having to like have more practices indoor and then eventually outdoor and just like dealing with how the weather kind of like here in Nebraska, um like that didn't have to be something that stopped my progress then. And I
Yeah.
didn't let it be. You know, luckily I had teammates along with me. Like we always like experiencing the same thing. They was getting through it, so obviously I could get through it too. So it was like
Yeah.
kind of like motivational in a way too.
Yeah. So one common theme that you've shared a lot has to do with people surrounding you, whether that's teammates or family. And I think that's something that a lot of people need to be aware of. Just think about how many times they go back, we watch a video, whatever. But you've mentioned it so many times. Think about how important having good teammates or just having people in your inner circle, how powerful that could be. And if you're someone that was training alone, think about all those times that you would have just stopped and been in the mindset of, I did enough. Or this is just, no one's going to be in this circumstance. We'll leave this alone. And now you have those experiences of like, this is really cold. I'm not doing this. And I guarantee one of the people in your training group or even coach was like, oh yeah, you're throwing today. Yeah, it's happening. And think about all those hurdles that you jump through there. Maybe literally hurdle hop.
Now I will say there were days where my emotions won a bit, where I was like, man, this is just like horrendous, you know?
Oh yeah, but
Yeah, but
that's gonna happen. You're gonna have those days.
yeah, but majority of the time it definitely was like, yeah, we still gotta make something work out of this, you know? Like you were saying, like you don't want to be left behind. You want to keep putting in work and getting better.
Yeah. I don't think that being having an elite mindset doesn't mean you can be upset or sad or have emotion about practice,
Hmm.
because that's gonna happen. Like you're gonna have good days, you're gonna have bad days,
Yeah.
and champions are made on coming back from the bad days. Where if think about all those days that it's cold, you don't want to throw outside. Missing one day, you can bounce back. But all those tiny little days you would have missed out on, would just think about how that could have changed your destiny too.
It would not have been as glamorous as it has been so far. Anyways, I feel like coming to Nebraska where there were more people available to potentially give me treatment
Yeah,
compared to I was like prior. I think that was a big help, and like talking to the trainers and being able to get like regimens to hopefully keep my body in check was something that was a little bit more new for me, that I appreciate that it was a bit more available to me, like that I think made a big difference, and that was something I really liked. And then just like having the facility, like majority of the things that you need or you need access to in terms of like going to the weight room, going to the track, going to the trainers, like it was all very near each other. Like even back in the Bahamas, like that, I don't have like a setup like that. Like to an extent at FIU, I didn't have a setup like that. And so the convenience of all of the necessary like resources being near each other was something I appreciated. Let me see. Mm-mm-mm.
so then if you aren't in a place that you have those resources together,
Uh-huh.
it's just very important that you just try to find a way to get each piece of the puzzle put into your
Yes.
training regimen.
Yeah.
So one thing, so even if you are in high school or if you're training somewhere and you aren't fortunate enough to have a weight room next to the track, next to wherever, the big takeaway here is a lot of you need each of the little pieces to succeed. If you didn't have everything close together, it would be a lot harder to
Yeah.
get there.
Yeah.
So a big thing that I'm getting from that, what you said, is it's important to have every little piece of the puzzle together.
Yeah, together or close. And I say that because there'll be times where I'd finish a practice session. I'd be like, oh, yeah, my body hurt kind of a bit, but I have this assignment to do. And
I just need to go home and lay on
yes,
it.
I would
Yep.
rather do that. But then I would think, oh, but the training room is
I'm walking right past it.
like just go to the training room, get the treatment for maybe 20, 30 minutes, however long, and then go home. Whereas if it was farther away, then I'd be like, well, I'll try to do something on my own and just go home, and you know what I mean? And
Yeah,
maybe doing the thing on my own would not have been as effective as like going to get treatment or
exactly.
something.
And there's a lot of ways that you could replicate that. So
Mhm.
if you're someone that if you don't have access to a training room, you're training on your own
Mhm.
right now, maybe that's just putting rehab tools in a place that's easily accessible.
Mhm.
Make it easier on you. If like nutrition too, like having someone hand you a protein shake afterwards a big
Yep.
deal. So maybe that just means that you need to go buy some of the muscle milks or something like that to have easily accessible.
Yep.
So a big thing I took away is just making sure that everything that you need to do
Mhm.
is going to be easy for you to do.
Yeah, so
And
set it up ahead. Try to set it up
yeah,
ahead of
being
time.
proactive
Yes.
and taking care of it that way. Because you have to know when you get done with, and I've seen some of the practices that the Jav groups had to do, and I stay far away. There's the off chance someone confuses me at the javelin throw where it makes me hop in. Especially like when you guys are running stairs for like 20, 30 minutes or whatever, and I'm hiding because my practice isn't until later. We're doing something more fun, like throwing stuff. And like you're not gonna want to do anything after that. Like you're toast. And so I think a lot of people. So maybe that's in high school. Maybe you're fortunate enough to have someone that could help you out, whether it's a parent or a sibling, to make sure like you have your meal ready afterwards. Or maybe that's even just having your exactly having your foam roller out.
Yeah. And then on top of that, like you were saying, you was mentioning sports psych, and then dietitians and so on and so forth. But just like knowing that you have those things available, even if at the moment you don't necessarily use it right away, like knowing that you have those things available also like I feel like gives you a little bit more reassurance, like eventually if something does happen down the line, I don't have to worry and scatter around and to find people who could help me.
Yeah, you
Like,
already have access to everything.
yeah, so and then even on the academic side,
Like
like
tutoring.
yes, all those things, like if you needed a laptop, you got a laptop provided to you, and it was a Mac, that was provided to you, and so like having those resources at Nebraska was like wonderful. I liked it, yeah.
Yeah. and just kind of building on that as well. That's just a lot of situations. We were fortunate enough that we went to a school that spends a lot of money on their athletes to where everything was going to be set up and we're going to be put in a place to succeed. That's one thing. Make sure that you have your path set up for success and not having to really dig in and on those times where you're in panic or have things going on.
Yeah.
If you already have a plan set up, you're not going to have to really be
Yeah.
at, yeah, exactly. You're going to know that you have a plan for that.
Yeah, it just makes things a lot easier on the days that you don't feel as motivated, if that makes sense. Yeah. So it helps with discipline. It helps with staying consistent. I think staying consistent was a better way to put it.
Yeah. And I guess kind of moving on here. So you're second to last year, so red shirt junior year, whatever eligibility wise that was. That's when you won your first national championship. And so
Oh, I didn't redshirt any years, but
you did? Okay. Couldn't remember if you did or not. So yeah, your true junior year, you won a national championship. You have your last year of eligibility going into that. During that season, did you have that expectation on yourself that I'm going to win, I have to win? Or how much pressure did that put on you?
I wanted to win, and I was telling past teammate, like something I go into meets thinking is like I'm as good as any of these other girls, and so I don't need to doubt myself or my abilities. Like I already been putting the work in, so I usually go into meets thinking like I could win this, like that, like I shouldn't doubt my abilities. Like
You are worthy of the
I
best chance
definitely
possible.
could win this, but I also have the mindset of like, because I believe in Christ, and
Yeah.
I do my work, and He'll also take care of the rest. And if things don't end up working out, like maybe I didn't win, maybe I didn't have the meet that I projected myself to have, like there's always another meet, moving forward. But considering that, and also like considering where I was coming from, I think yes, I really wanted to win, but I didn't put that much pressure on myself, I always was like, I need to see progress. I think that's what I put more pressure on myself about. Like, I need to see progress. Like, I don't want to be stagnant versus I need to win. You know what I mean? And so
Yeah.
that's kind of like what I was thinking about going into my journey. Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah.
And another thing is how big has your faith been for helping you stay composed and get through big competitions?
It's been a huge part of why I'm able to kind of have peace of mind going into competitions. I think because I have an identity in Christ, like I don't look at the way I compete as a form of how much I'm valued. Like my value isn't connected to my performance. My value isn't connected to how often I throw over a certain distance.
Exactly.
And so that does give me more peace of mind during competition.
Yeah. I'm very glad you shared that because I feel like a lot of kids, whether if they know Christ or if they don't know Christ, you don't really see that advertised as much, just with people being afraid of like hurting someone's feelings or just for whatever reason that you just see these athletes and you kind of see them almost as robots. Like you don't know their emotions, what they do. I think social media is doing a great job of giving people that platform to help out. But I think that's also something really important that you mentioned too, is your identity in Christ and how that's helped you get through that. And so a lot of people, hopefully, who get a chance to listen to this or see this can say, ooh, Rayla has a lot of success and she has her identity in Christ. Like maybe I'm not the only one, or maybe that's something maybe people will be inspired. So,
But even like not just me, like even look at Sydney McLaughlin, Laverne, Laveroni. Yeah, that's
yeah.
like she also is somebody that I would say I look up to in the sport because she like definitely has identity in Christ as well, and she's been able to do extraordinary things.
Yeah.
And so I feel like that also, she also is somebody that I kind of look at and be like, look, this person.
And I hope that there's gonna be people out there too that look at you the same way.
Oh, thank you.
Yeah. And so I guess kind of going on to your last year, and that was the Olympic year too. And so you were able to succeed, PR and all this on Olympic year and get all your qualifications. How stressed did you feel knowing that this season you're gonna have to get a good mark in to make those qualifications again?
I would say I was a bit more, I felt a bit more pressure in the Olympic year versus
Year
the year
before.
before, considering like the thing that I am striving towards is literally like
You taste it,
coming
it's
up,
there.
And the only other opportunity I love is in the next 4 years, But I kind of kept somewhat a similar mindset as the year before in terms of like keep working at it. I have what it takes.
Yep.
Um,
And if it's meant to be, it's going to fall into place.
yes. But then it also ties back into something you mentioned earlier about having people around you who also believe. And I feel like that also tied into
Yep,
keeping
another
me,
piece of the puzzle.
yeah, like it tied into help keeping me motivated, but also help kicking away any doubt about like, will I make the team? Will I throw far enough? Will I? And then slowly as the season kept going, like marks and even like technique was starting to come together. Marks was starting to look pretty promising. And as time kept going, like I got more and more confident about my ability to make the Olympic team, you know?
Yeah. And then I think one of the most impressive, one of my favorite parts of the season had to be at the NCAA championships. And now going into, was it rounds? It was round 6 when you had your,
No, it was round
or
5.
was it 5? I don't know. My brain was everywhere. There was a lot of emotions in whatever section was facing the javelin that I was a part of. But going into that competition, you're defending national champion. A lot of people have a target on, okay, here's where we think Rhema's going to be. They've been training all year, and they've had those practices where you pass them, and I guarantee a lot of the more elite throwers, at least, have had those training sessions. Okay, you get one throw. Rhema just threw this mark, and here's the cone. You got to beat that mark. And from your perspective, like, of course, there's other people too that you probably had that at practice. So and so just passed you, but actually being at the big stage and being in that stance of, okay, you've been passed. You have 2 throws left. What are you gonna do? And it's gonna take a personal best to get there. What were the emotions like? Was it something that you had to think real technical, or is that one of those trying to stay relaxed, or what was the strategy that you think benefited you the most?
I feel like it was a mix of both, like focusing, still like thinking about technique, but also trying to like, keep my emotions somewhat at bay because I started getting frustrated. Like the first 4 throws, I threw 56, 56, 56, 56, and I could not completely, I couldn't completely figure it out on my own, like what I was doing. I was like, I feel good, I feel strong. To an extent, I figured that I was like throwing it a little too high, and I would go back to Coach Sinclair and be like, hey, what you seeing here? Tell me, like, yeah, you throwing it a little too high, but like every time I think about when I threw the big throw versus when I threw the throws before, I was like, they felt so similar. And I can't remember exactly what was the thing that let me see. Let me rephrase that. The way that the throws felt before versus the throw that was big, they felt so similar. And it basically was a very small technical change that I did that drastically changed the outcome? And like even before like the big throw, I had a next throw before it that felt way more powerful. Like when I hit my block, I felt like I was just like going at it, and then it just flew straight up in the air and just dropped right down. And so that, like those throws before, just was like kind of disheartening.
You just gotta stick with it.
Pardon?
You just gotta stick with it.
Yeah, and kind of. Oh, I feel like I kind of get a little lost in the conversation a little bit. I forgot.
No, you're talking about your big throw. Talking about how first 4 throws, how they were just the same 56, and then you're sticking with it in that last one.
No,
The
I
last
was
2.
asking what was the question anyway.
Oh, sorry. I apologize.
We
Yeah,
can
I
start
got
the
you.
question.
Oh, so yeah, so looking at that 5th throw,
Mm-hmm.
and you were talking about how it felt the same every throw.
Uh-huh.
I think that's something that a lot of people kind of struggle with too. When they think PR or big throw, they think throw harder, or you're gonna have that feeling be different. So sometimes that might be like for shot play, it might be just like punching the ball harder. You should think, I'm gonna feel more strain in my tricep.
Right.
But when you just diagnosed your throw, you said it felt the same, and you just had the tiny adjustment, and it was the same feeling, but just a little technical change.
Yeah, okay. Yeah, okay. So yeah, going the first 4 throws before versus the big throw that I had felt almost very similar, like almost identical. But yeah, there was a slight technical change that happened. And I think on that 5th throw, I took a deep breath. I tried to remember like what Coach Sinclair was telling me in terms of like my angle of my javelin. And I just went down the runway and I released it. And when I released it, I wasn't 100% sure like that it was gonna go.
Yeah, like
I feel like the throws before I looked at it and I was like, okay, that one looked like it's gonna go, and then it just died, and that was because it was going too high. But on the sixth throw, I released it and it went, and then
the same amount of force, same everything,
like,
just yep.
Like I promise you, I even felt like I had a throw before the sixth throw that felt more powerful. Like I launched that one for sure, and then it just 56.
Yep. And then the efficiency wasn't there. And that's another thing I think a lot of people don't really think about when they throw. That with all these reps we do, all this technical drills, we're trying to be as efficient as possible. And so a big throw, but you're over rotating, but you get more speed. That even though you think you're getting this much power out of your throw compared to a throw that you might slow down a little bit and you get lined up just right and let go, and maybe it's this much compared to this much, but since there's not this much resistance, it's going to go further.
Yeah, so I think that was a big testament to in javelin throwing or even just throwing in general, like making the smallest technical adjustment could like breed like huge results, and that's genuinely what it was on my fifth throw.
And that's something that you're going to know that feeling, and you're going to have no doubts in training and further competitions.
Yeah, but something I do like somewhat wrestle with a little bit nowadays is like trying to chase that again instead of just like letting it happen, which is something I always try to keep it at the top of my head. Like don't chase.
And that's one of the hardest things about throwing is you have to stay relaxed and you have to be confident on this is going to go well. But you can't force it to go well because as soon as you try, you're going to tighten up.
Yeah.
Now, I'm very blessed in shot put because that shot put, you can kind of manhandle it. Like shot put, if you just slam your foot down a little harder, sometimes it's going to go further. But discus, javelin, hammer, absolutely not.
Yeah. The smallest technical change can make such a big difference in distance. And then, but yeah.
Yeah, and so for those who don't know, we have to put the clip in, but Rhema launched Absolute Nuke 64-19. Okay, I couldn't remember what it was exactly. And that was a 2-meter PR at the time, about.
That was almost like 3 meters and something centimeters.
Yeah, so huge throw. So the emotional roller coaster of I'm better than 56. I'm better than 56. I'm better than 56. I'm better than 56. Oh my goodness.
Yes, literally. Because like I was saying, I started getting frustrated with the first 4 throws because I was like, I feel strong. Like I feel like I put in my all into the javelin. Why isn't it flying the way that I know it should fly? Kept coming out as 56 no matter what it felt like I was doing, And then all of a sudden, I finally hit the right technique or hit the small change in my technique that I needed to hit, and it just flew. And when initially, and I said this in like an interview that I also had at the time, like when it landed, I did not know how far it went. I just knew that it went over the white line, and I was like, finally I'm back in the competition because.
And then you didn't even know what it was.
No, I was like, I just felt like, oh, finally I'm back in the competition. I'm now competing again. Because the Liana was the girl who was in first at the time. Yep. She threw 60 meters, and then I was in second with 56. I was like, I at this point, it don't even seem like I'm competing, But then I saw it go over the 60-meter line. I was like, I'm back in the competition. Okay, let's go. And then Nico ran to me, and she was like, like freaking out. What happened? I'm happy that I get it.
Yeah, like thank you. I've done this before. Like we don't need to bring out the confetti just yet.
And then because sometimes like we get happy with each other's performances and stuff, but it was like this one was like a.
Yeah, this was like it's like all right, what's going on?
Yes, and so I looked back just to double check to see what the distance was, so that I could walk over to Coach Sinclair and talk to him about it because I still have one more throw,
Yeah.
And I saw the distance pop up, and I just could not believe it because that. Like looking at the, I guess the board.
Yep.
With the distance up, that immediately I thought I qualified for the Olympics. I can't believe it.
Like every bubble that you could light up was lit up on that throw. The qualifications, records, like on the scoreboard. I think that's one of the coolest things of the big meets when you do something well is with this scoreboard, all the little lights pop up. It's like, oh, like, NCAA lead, NCAA record, meet record, and then all the other things. And so you can see next to your name, it's just like, oh, look at this little strand of color I have behind. No, it was really fun to watch. And then moving on to that, did you feel any more worthy of making it to the Olympics at that point? Or did anything change, or you're just like, no, that's just how Rhema is,
No, like all of this just added confidence to me. Like I feel like that's what competing does. That's what like having a good meet does. It adds confidence to the rest of your performances throughout the seasons or throughout the years. And like actually hitting the standard. That was something I wrote down on my goal sheet for the year. Like I usually make a goal sheet every year. And that was one of the things that I wrote. Like hit the A standard to go to the Olympics. And I
Yeah.
did that and I was like, yeah, I feel like I definitely could go there and I could compete with those girls.
Yeah, yeah. So that's awesome. And then you got to make it to the Olympics, and then now you're no longer a collegiate athlete. So yeah, now in the professional world, what has been the biggest change between being a collegiate athlete and professional athlete?
Um, like immediately the biggest change is the fact that you kind of somewhat on your own or a bit more independent than you was before. Like things would be just like provided for you all the time. Like when you had to go at competitions, like a whole what's it called? A whole like
Like the staff or
not staff. I was gonna say more like a schedule, like your whole like itinerary was already written for you. You pretty much just needed to show up and do what you normally do. Show up and do what you gotta do. But where I'm like more of a professional or more like I'm no longer in the collegiate system, like a lot more things kind of fall on my lap. And so I would say that was like the biggest like
yeah. And then do you have any advice for anyone out there that are looking to get started? Maybe that's not professional or working towards professional after college.
Okay, well, this is advice that I think helped me a lot, but I actually heard it from someone else because I was asking them, like, what's something I should keep in mind? And that would be don't change so many things so quickly, because you're a professional now. Like, if something was working for you, like, stick with what was working for you. Like, you had a particular routine, you had a particular way that you used to, I guess, eat or set up your food.
Yeah, you have your routine.
Yeah, you had a particular routine going on. And so, like, don't try to change so much so soon because you're a professional, you know? If it was working for you in college, and I'm pretty sure the year right after college, it would still be working for you. And so, yeah, I think that was like a big thing I kept in mind. Like, now I don't need to start like doing anything extra because I think it's a lot more like weigh on me, a lot more pressure on how I do this year or something.
Just unfamiliarity.
Yeah.
So we're getting close to time for here on the podcast. And so our last little piece of advice we've been doing is we've been having our guests give either advice to you wish you would have had when you were younger, or just to our audience that are interested in being Rhema someday.
Oh, okay. Well, and I feel like you've already heard this multiple times. It's just like I think you are try not to doubt yourself as you go throughout your progress and becoming a better thrower. Like where you are right now does not have to define where you're gonna be tomorrow or the day after or just moving into the future. Progress, everything takes time. Success takes time. Getting better takes time. And so don't doubt where you are today simply because it ain't looking like where you thought it should be. And then something else I'll also say is like this is so cliche, but like believe in yourself, especially if you've been putting in work. Believe in the ability that you have. I feel like confidence makes such a big difference in how you compete. And when someone lacks confidence, like even if like physically they're ready, like since you aren't there mentally, like you put yourself at a huge disadvantage. I always think that competing is like 80% mental and then 20% physical. Like you could be ready, but if your mind isn't 100% there, then you already lower your chances of success or winning straight off the bat.
Exactly.
Yeah. So that's something I would like wanna, I guess, let all the viewers know.
Yeah. Well, thank you. So that is going to conclude this week's episode of The Throw Zone. Once again, feel free to comment, like, subscribe, share, whatever platform you're on. We really appreciate it. Also, if you want to give a comment, if you like our new setup here or our decorations, shout out to my fiance Haley for putting that together.
Shout out Haley.
Yeah, so we've been working on it. If you have any more fun content ideas or any questions you want asked on the Throw Zone, feel free to send a DM. We're happy to provide whatever education we can out there. So stay tuned for this next episode, and we'll catch you on the next one.